Whether you love him or hate him, Donald Trump is impossible to ignore. His brash communication style and unfiltered remarks have made him one of the most controversial political figures in modern history. To his supporters, Trump is a crusader, someone who says what's on his mind no matter who gets offended. They see him as a defender of common sense against the excesses of political correctness. But to his critics, Trump's words are reckless and divisive. His seemingly racist, sexist, and incendiary statements provoke intense anger and backlash. In this documentary, we'll examine some of Trump's most audacious confrontations with modern woke culture. You'll witness Trump directly challenging today's most taboo topics: gender identity, feminism, transgender rights. Agree or disagree? His blunt words reveal simmering tensions bubbling beneath the surface of our polarized politics. Strap in for a wild ride as we chronicle Donald Trump's stormy confrontations with the forces of political correctness. Over the next several chapters, you'll see Trump at his most unfiltered, speaking directly to issues many tiptoe around, for better or worse. However you judge his approach, Trump represents a political tornado impossible to ignore and unconcerned with who gets caught up in the swirling controversy. Things get heated fast when a feminist activist confronts Donald Trump head-on at a conference. She accuses him of being no friend to women, and even implies he's a misogynist.
Wrong. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to women.
Trump doesn't take the criticism lightly. Instead, he goes on the attack, aggressively touting his track record of hiring and promoting women throughout his business career. He lists women placed in high positions in male-dominated industries like construction and development thanks to opportunities from Trump.
Who was in charge of the building of Trump Tower many years ago, before anybody would have even thought of it.
It's a bold counterpunch, portraying himself as a champion of empowering women, not an enemy. But the activist presses on, invoking two core feminist issues: equal pay and abortion rights.
So, if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
Trump dismissively rejects the notion of a systemic wage gap, boiling it down to individual performance, not gender. On abortion, he sticks to his pro-life principles. With just a few words, Trump brushes aside concepts central to modern intersectional feminism. Right or wrong, his blunt confrontational style is on full display. He won't be put on the defensive in what quickly becomes less of a discussion than a verbal brawl. This heated confrontation shows Donald Trump unbowed and unapologetic in the face of pointed attacks, charging forward even on the most divisive social issues. In a video address, Donald Trump fearlessly dives headfirst into the heated debate surrounding gender identity. He declares unequivocally there are only two genders, male and female, assigned at birth. Trump calls for legislation to codify this concept into law, prohibiting transgender athletes from competing in women's sports and limiting gender transitions for minors without parental consent. The response from his rally audience is telling raucous cheers and applause. This reveals a hunger among Trump's base for blunt talk and clear lines drawn against the spread of transgender rights and activism. Right or wrong, Trump has his finger on the pulse of a counter-movement who feel politically disenfranchised. They see him as a champion, willing to confront taboo topics few other politicians dare address. This is Trump at his most unfiltered and provocative, diving into the most heated gender issues and declaring where the lines should be drawn. He is speaking directly to what many of his supporters think but are afraid to say in today's charged cultural climate. The enthusiastic crowd response demonstrates that Trump has struck a nerve among millions who want firm pushback against the most far-reaching demands of the transgender movement. Regardless of where one stands, this is a stark and revealing window into an overlooked pocket of public opinion. Things get wild when Donald Trump brings his signature brand of humor to the controversy surrounding transgender athletes in women's sports. At a raucous campaign rally, he jokes that if he were a women's basketball coach, he'd recruit LeBron James to dominate the sport. The crowd eats it up, erupting in laughter and cheers. Trump argues the issue can't be honestly discussed due to fear of backlash and cancellation. The crowd's reaction seems to confirm his point. They're thrilled someone is bluntly addressing a hot-button issue much of society tiptoes around. The scene underscores a major part of Trump's appeal, his willingness to use provocative humor to address controversial topics other politicians avoid. The audience comes to their feet, validating his blunt, confrontational approach. Right or wrong? This reveals Trump's instincts for tapping into cultural undercurrents that defy today's progressive norms. The crowd responses show he's giving voice to frustrations and views many feel but are shamed into silence about. This raucous moment crystallizes Trump's role as the ultimate political incorrector, delighting loyalists by satirically confronting taboos head-on, restraint and nuance be damned. Donald Trump finds himself in a tricky spot when asked point-blank to define what a woman is. It's become a charged question as gender politics grow increasingly complex. Provide too narrow a definition, and progressives will accuse you of bigotry. But give too expansive a definition, and you'll alienate social conservatives. Perhaps sensing the landmine, Trump deftly dodges the question, making a joking reference to transgender athletes instead of offering a clear definition. His evasion highlights the precarious political terrain surrounding gender in today's America. Neither side of the debate will be fully satisfied with any pat answer to this minefield of a question. Trump's hesitance to jump into this semantic quagmire underscores how even the most unfiltered politicians must tread carefully on profound questions of identity. His refusal to take a firm stand reveals there are still limits, however narrow, on what lines even Donald Trump dares cross when it comes to inflaming the culture wars. The woman question shows that striking the right balance remains an elusive challenge. Trump's cautious response proves he too must sometimes pull his punches to avoid provoking the deepest fault lines in our ongoing national debate over gender. In the end, Donald Trump emerges as the ultimate political provocateur on issues of gender and identity. He gleefully confronts orthodoxies and taboos that most public figures treat with kid gloves. Throughout this documentary, Trump has shown little fear of the stigma or backlash that come with unfiltered, blunt talk on charged social issues. Right or wrong, reasonable minds may differ on the wisdom and effects of Trump's confrontational style. But his words undeniably reveal simmering tensions between competing worldviews, tensions that polite society often covers over and ignores in the name of tolerance and progress. For supporters, Trump's forceful rhetoric is a tonic saying publicly what many think but cannot openly declare without risking their livelihoods and reputations. But his critics see only the needless erosion of hard-won social gains protecting marginalized communities. Regardless of where one stands, Trump represents a human lightning rod, jolting the culture by touching its most sensitive live wires. The shocks and sparks his words create may invigorate some while frightening others, but they undeniably lay bare the unfinished legacy of civil rights activism and our ongoing national debate over gender identity. In the age of political correctness, Trump's defiant willingness to confront cultural taboos has made him a champion to devotees, even as his brazen taunts offend opponents. But like a tornado that does not discriminate in its path, he continues to whirl furiously on as one of the most unavoidable forces in American political life.